Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.
Up front today, a look at blacks in nursing, a profession where the demand for workers outweighs the supply. In our one-to-one segment, Genevieve Stewart talks to Joe Jones of Breaux Bridge, the first black elected official in St. Martin's Parish. And then we'll take you to the New Orleans Museum of Art and share with you some art of the Plains Indians. Hello everyone, I'm Rob Hinton, and we'll have those stories today on Folks.
Everybody says folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just people all over the world. Folks who live, folks got to give, folks got to care, folks got to share. Our world is small, so very small. What touches one of us, who touches us all? To stay alive, just to survive, folks got to be in harmony. Everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks, everybody just folks, just plain old folks, just plain old folks. Everybody just folks.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Folks. Up front today, we'll be taking a look at a profession where the demand for workers outweighs the supply, and that profession is nursing. Why is there a nursing shortage, and what's being done to meet the demand? Well, we thought a good place to begin looking for answers was at the convention of the National Black Nurses Association. The National Black Nurses Association was founded back in the early 70s to address health and welfare issues affecting black people.
The National Black Nurses Association is an association of nurses, black nurses, student nurses, and RNs and licensed vocational nurses. It came into being in 1971. We were incorporated as an organization. It's a professional organization of black nurses that exists to provide the highest quality of care to black consumers of health and to promote career opportunities and educational opportunities for black nurses.
The association represents all black nurses in the country. The theme of this year's convention was nursing in an era of political, economic, and technological change.
Nursing is being impacted in practice and as a profession by the rapid legal, ethical, and economical changes. Black nurses in particular are especially concerned with the effects of this revolution on the black consumer, the black community as a whole, and the black healthcare provider specifically. Access to service, maintenance of quality, and equity in health care is not equally distributed throughout this country. The cuts in the federal government by the administration that are currently in has made sure that health care is definitely not a right, but a privilege in this community, in this country. Only the privileged in this country can receive health care at the level that the technological changes are assuring that it occurs. If you're talking about technological changes, we're talking about specialization in the delivery of health care. We're talking about computerization and instrumentation that require high technical knowledge for nurses. And we're also talking about federal regulations that impact the recipient and the deliverer of health care in terms of regulations that govern how one can receive health care and how the cost of that health care will be handled.
What role will nurses play in these changes?
Well, I think one of the things that we need one important role we need to play is to be the overseer of the delivery of health care to black patients. When we talk about DRGs and the fact that institutions will be paid for the stay within the hospital based upon what the federal government has determined as the length of stay for that particular disease category, we need to be very concerned about black patients being dumped out of hospitals before they're ready to go home without any consideration given to the needs of that patient within the home or whether that patient is ready to go home. We need to look at the kinds of impact that will have on institutions in terms of the quality of the care that they receive, whether or not those patients are going to receive the appropriate diagnostic evaluation, the appropriate tests that will be necessary to assure that the diagnosis has been made correctly.
The National Black Nurses Association is also looking for some political changes.
We in the National Black Nurses Association need to be supportive of candidates for the presidency and the Congress who will assist in converting these recommendations into legislation and national policy. The major principles of the platform are de-escalation of the nuclear arms race, enforcement of civil rights laws, sanctions against South Africa and its racial policies, and the maintenance of a policy of non-intervention in the affairs of the Caribbean and the Central American nations. That platform further recommends that federally supported programs in the areas of health, nutrition, civil rights, education, and housing be maintained and expanded.
I think that the role that we will play will be to get out the vote and to make each one of our members and the people that they interact with on a daily basis aware of the issues in the campaign so that they can make an intelligent decision. What we want to do is to have every nurse and at least 10 people that she knows registered to vote and cast that ballot in November.
Currently, the nursing profession has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country, less than 2%. Hospitals and public health care facilities are desperately in need of good nurses. One reason there is a nursing shortage, says Ophelia Long, is the undesirable perception the profession has because of the lack of respect many doctors have shown for nurses, the low pay, and non-standard hours.
Well, I think there's a shortage of nurses, and it varies periodically from state to state. The reason there's a shortage of nurses primarily is the entry into nursing practice has dwindled in terms of nursing as a career. But one of the greater reasons for that is that the accessibility of schools of nursing for those desiring to go into have nursing as an education. In the state of California, there is serious consideration to look at the Associate of Arts degree program because nursing is a costly profession in terms of providing people to become nurses. It's very costly. But nursing is also a revenue-generating profession, and that's the way one needs to look at it in terms of it may cost a lot for us to become educated, but we also generate a lot of revenue for hospitals.
And some people are searching in some of the most unusual places for nurses, like the Louisiana World Exposition.
Our shortage is serious enough that we have a recruitment office who has identified nursing as one of its key targets for recruitment. We're looking at men and women who can come back to Phoenix, Arizona and teach as faculty instructors in our community college system.
There are about 40 areas in which nurses can specialize, and they are classified in two general categories: registered nurses, or RNs, and licensed practical nurses, or LPNs. There are three types of educational programs that will allow you to take the state licensing exam to become an RN: a 2-year associate degree, a 3-year hospital program, or a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. LPN programs run for 1 year and are available through hospitals, vocational schools, and 2-year colleges. Now, if you want more information about careers in nursing, you can write the National Black Nurses Association, Post Office Box 18358, Boston, Massachusetts 02118. Last week on Folks, we shared with you a report on French-speaking blacks. Well, today in our one-to-one segment, Genevieve Stewart continues her talk with one of the men featured in that report, Joseph Jones of Breaux Bridge. Genevieve?
Rob, Breaux Bridge City Councilman Joseph Jones said that failure is not a part of his vocabulary. He relishes the opportunity to inspire others, especially young people, to the power of positive thinking. Joseph Jones is a former teacher, entrepreneur, politician, and father. Being a man of diverse experiences, our discussion touched upon a variety of topics.
I'm a kind of person that burns the bridges behind me. I don't know if I don't like to talk about failure too much because I don't confess failures. I don't know if I failed. I don't ever remember failing in school. But in my pursuit, I usually, like I said before, I don't look back. I'm always looking ahead. Because I believe that if I back up, it's going to take twice as much time to reach that particular point. And that's why I cannot back up because the bridge has been destroyed. So I'm either at a standstill or I'm moving forward. And that's the way I view life. So I don't consider myself failing. I might not do as well in one thing as I would like to, but I didn't fail. I think I got the message across. So failure has no place in my life.
Indeed it doesn't. Jones was the first black from Breaux Bridge to finish college. 30 years ago, while teaching in the public schools, he began a pest control business. Step by step, Joe Jones set goals for himself and pursued them.
If man have a vision in life, a goal, and you're always working towards that particular goal, you cannot fail. You will achieve to some degree. Maybe not perfect, you might not achieve the way you would like to, but you achieve. And I think that's important. So in essence, you're not failing. You might be a failure in the eyes of others, but deep down inside, you have succeeded. And that's just the way I view life and view failure and success.
His goals and visions led Jones into a partnership in a lumber business, contracting firm, and land development company. J&S is a multi-million-dollar business to which Jones now devotes his time. Proper time management and initiative are perhaps other factors which contribute to his success.
Another thing I usually tell people is that sleep is bad. I don't like to sleep too much because you don't accomplish anything when you sleep other than you help your body. Sleeping is living the life of a dead man. There are too many of us, we sleep too long. We're always resting. So in essence, we're really living the life of somebody that's not even here. And that's existence. And I tried to teach that to people. I tried to be an example of that to people by working 90% of the time. And sometimes all of the time.
Much of Jones' working time is devoted to the public. After 20 years working behind the scenes in politics, Joseph Jones was elected to the Breaux Bridge City Council in 1977. Organizing a black political coalition in the 1950s in a small southern rural town was not an easy task.
In the years to follow, I tried very desperately to bring a message to the people that would benefit them. And I think my message is simple, that together we're strong, and divided, I mean, you know, we can be conquered. It's very difficult. It has been difficult. I'm a tired warrior now. Sometimes you feel like throwing in the towel, but I don't know if I can. I think it's just in me to continue to forge forward and bring the message to my people that it's imperative. It's imperative that we combine our resources, combine our strength in order to succeed. And in a small community, it's very difficult.
In addition to his other commitments, Joseph Jones sits on the board of directors of the parish's largest bank. He is involved in his church and civic organizations. How does the Breaux Bridge community view this dynamo of business and politics?
I think that if you would venture into the white community, you'll find that I'm welcome. They respect me for some of the things that I have done. Even though I am a city councilman representing District C, which is predominantly black, I have a responsibility to help the entire city of Breaux Bridge. I'm not just a councilman necessarily for District C. I'm elected from District C. I don't neglect my constituents, but I don't neglect any other citizen that comes to me for help. I think that you have to look at the job as a job to better the community and not just the district in which you live or the district from which you were elected.
Life was not always easy for Jones. One of 14 children raised on a farm in Breaux Bridge, he credits his parents with college educating 12 of his siblings. Thus, family ties are also a priority.
Even though my mother's an illiterate, I think that's the driving force, perhaps, that drove her to making absolutely certain that we received an education. That was foremost in her mind, that she wanted to see us graduate from school, because she did not attend one day of school. And she did. It was difficult because back in the early years, we had to walk to school. We had to walk 3 miles to school. We had classes on a dirt floor in an old potato shed, that sort of thing. Then, of course, high school was Paulboro and eventually Holy Rosary. But we had to sometimes walk to Lafayette. How many times I walked from Paulboro home, which was some 7 miles. But we did, and we persevered, you know, with a little perseverance. We saw, you know, we came through.
The power of positive thinking, goals, time management, success. Joe Jones has a strong sense of purpose and philosophy of life that has worked for him.
If you have the faith in God, faith in yourself, and faith in the people, then success is inevitable. And you're not going to fail. Because from the standpoint of religion, there's no failure if you believe in God. You don't fail. I think that's important. I think this country, this whole country, is moving away from that philosophy. And I think that's bad. I think we need to, first of all, have a strong religious conviction. And if we do, then we will not fail. There will be no more wars. There will be no hunger. See, you wipe all this out with that, because naturally you believe in yourself. If you believe in God, you're going to believe in yourself. And you're going to believe that you're here for a purpose. Someone said somewhere, or read somewhere, where an author said that a man should be afraid to die until he has done something for humanity. I believe in that. How many of us are ready to die in this country? How many of us are actually doing something for humanity? We're not, and I think I am.
Jones' energy level is so high, I was amazed just trying to keep up with his routine schedule. He did inspire me to utilize my time to its best advantage.
We close today's show by traveling to the New Orleans Museum of Art. It was there we got a chance to see some exciting traditional art of the Plains Indians as we browsed through an exhibit entitled Circles of the World. We began our look at this exhibit by talking to Bill Fagley, Assistant Director of the New Orleans Museum of Art. He talked first about the Plains Indians.
Well, the Plains Indians are the Native Americans who lived north of, well, in southern Canada, all the way to North Texas, and basically from the Mississippi to the Rockies. And this included the peoples, the Pawnee, the Cheyenne, and a lot of modern day names, geographic names, come from these groups, such as Iowa, Kansas, Dakota. These are all names of tribes that lived in this area, in the Plains, American Plains.
Now, this magnificent display of Indian art was organized by the Denver Art Museum.
About 95% of the objects come from their own collection, which is really quite extensive. And it has circulated throughout Europe. It's been in Vienna and Edinburgh and Paris. And in this country, it was in Boston and Washington, and now New Orleans, also New York, and will end in San Francisco.
The title of this exposition, Circles of the World, describes the way the Plains Indians viewed their environment.
They felt like that where they lived was the center of the universe, and everything radiated out from that. And so there are 4 divisions in the exhibition. There's the circle of the family, which is the area we're sitting in now. This is the most immediate mother, father, children aspect, and the directly in the home. The next section is the circle of the tribe, which is a little larger circle. And this includes all of the families that live together in one group. And then you expand a little further and you go to the circle of humanity, which is the 3rd section. And then the 4th section is the circle of the unknown, which is the more mystical, religious, spiritual section, which is the universe.
The Plains people surrounded themselves with beautiful things they had made. objects whose purpose was to serve a practical, social, or religious goal. Today we look at these native artifacts as art.
A lot of artistic objects which also had a very strong utilitarian use. Clothing, utensils for cooking and eating, weaponry for warfare, housing. I think it's wonderful. You're going to see a teepee which has a painting on it. And I think it's such a wonderful concept of having a portable work of art that you can live in. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could have the same? I don't think our Winnebagos make it in that respect. But there is a variety of types of objects, and then also the purely decorative objects, art for art's sake, so to speak. So there's a wide variety of objects and materials.
Fagley says exhibits like Circles of the World help break down the stereotypical image a lot of people have about Indians.
These people, I think we have the idea that they were very belligerent, warlike people and really not very smart. And those things are far from the truth. They were very peaceful people. They were very gentle people. And they were extremely intelligent and had a philosophy of life which was probably more sophisticated than our own.
Now, Circles of the World will be on exhibit at the New Orleans Museum of Art through November 18th. That's our program for this week. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again next week when our one-to-one segment features world-renowned author Alex Haley. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Funding for the production of Folks is provided in part by the Friends of LPB.